Ambassador Zethkar of the Vraxian Empire slammed his four-clawed fist on the obsidian table, holographic star charts rippling above the Galactic Council chamber. "This is preposterous," he hissed, serpentine neck coiling with rage. "The humans refuse to join our campaign against the hegemony. They claim they don't go to war. What civilized species achieves interstellar travel without conquest?" Representatives across the galaxy murmured in confusion. Crystalline Korthani chimed like broken glass. Hulking Brutex warriors grunted disapproval. "Perhaps we should investigate this claim," suggested Ambassador Lyrian of the Ethereal Collective, her translucent form shimmering. "Their species is unusual." "Unusual?" Zethkar's yellow eyes narrowed. 2 century spacefaring, yet peaceful relations with every species encountered. It's unnatural. War is the ultimate expression of strength and progress. High Counselor Drakthul raised a massive stone hand for silence. The ancient, eternal stone had witnessed 1,000 civilizations rise and fall. "The humans intrigue me," he rumbled like grinding mountains. "Never have I encountered a species that unified their homeworld without conquest. They came to the stars as explorers, not conquerors." "Weakness," spat General Gorvok of the Brutex Legion. "No species survives without war's strength. They hide their true nature." "Then we test them," Zethkar declared. "The hegemony threatens all territories. If humans refuse to fight, they'll be destroyed with us. Let's see how long their peaceful nature survives extinction." The vote was unanimous. Humans would join the war effort or face consequences of their pacifist delusions. None noticed the invisible probe recording everything. Within hours, data transmitted across subspace to a blue-green planet on the galaxy's rim. The message was simple. The galaxy goes to war. They expect us to choose sides. On Earth, Director Sarah Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps read the report with growing concern. She reached for her secure communicator, sending a coded message across human space. Protocol 7. They still don't understand. The emergency Terran Council session convened within hours. Representatives from Earth, Mars, Jovian colonies, and outer settlements gathered beneath Luna City's secure chambers. Director Chen stood before the assembly, expression grave. The Galactic Council issued their ultimatum: join their war against the hegemony or become enemies of the Alliance. "Our response?" asked Counselor Martinez from Mars. "The same it's always been," Chen replied firmly. "We don't go to war." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Okafor raised her hand. "Perhaps we should explain why we don't go to war. They interpret our position as weakness." "No," said Dr. James Harrison, Earth's xenopsychologist, rising slowly. "They wouldn't understand. Every major galactic species shares the same assumption. War is natural, necessary for advancement. They literally cannot comprehend a species that evolved beyond that phase." "But we did," Counselor Kim pointed out. "We unified Earth through cooperation, not conquest." "Exactly," Harrison nodded. "Every other species achieved interstellar travel through military expansion. They conquered homeworlds, neighbors, then reached for stars seeking new conquests. War, to them, is progress." Chen activated the main display, showing human space dotted with red markers across dozens of systems. "Project Sanctuary has been our contingency since first contact," she explained. "Every species has refugees fleeing their government's wars. We've quietly offered sanctuary, building safe havens in systems major powers consider worthless." The display revealed massive stations hidden in asteroid fields, underground cities on barren worlds, agricultural colonies on dismissed planets. 40 million non-human civilians live under human protection, Chen continued. Vraxian peace activists, Brutex artists, Korthani philosophers, ethereal dissidents, people their societies cast out for refusing warrior culture. "We're providing an alternative to war," Okafor whispered. Harrison's expression darkened. "Show them the classified files." Chen accessed restricted data. Intelligence reports, shipping manifests, communication intercepts filled the display. "The hegemony isn't another empire," she said. "They're a collective assimilating species through biotechnological integration. They don't conquer, they absorb." Silence fell. "Galactic powers think this is territorial war," Chen continued. "They don't realize they're facing something that could end organic civilization. That's why they're desperate for allies. And why we can't join them," Harrison concluded. "This isn't winnable through military might. It's a fight for individual consciousness and free will." Chen looked around the chamber. "The question isn't whether we'll fight the hegemony. It's whether we can save the galaxy from itself." "Our first move?" Martinez asked. Chen smiled grimly. "We do what humans do best. We get creative." The first hegemony scouts materialized at Vraxian space's edge without warning. Massive biomechanical ships moved with organic fluidity that defied conventional spacecraft understanding. They didn't attack, they simply waited. On Conquest's edge, Admiral Sektar studied the alien vessels with growing unease. 3 hours of analysis yielded increasingly disturbing reports. "Admiral," his science officer reported, voice tight with fear, "the ships aren't just biomechanical, they're alive. Hull material matches biological tissue from 17 species, including several extinct for centuries." "Impossible," Sektar hissed. "Sir, we're detecting neural activity throughout ship structures. They're not just alive, they're thinking." Suddenly, his communications officer convulsed, eyes rolling back as he spoke in an alien voice. "Greetings, children of the galaxy," the possessed officer said with impossible harmonics. "We are the hegemony. We offer transcendence." "Release him," Sektar demanded. "Soon. First, observe." The view screen showed hegemony vessels opening like flowers, releasing thousands of seed craft toward civilian colonies. "Your worlds will be our first gift," the voice continued. "We'll show what your species becomes when freed from individual consciousness limitations." The transmission ended. The officer collapsed. "Admiral, the seeds target civilian colonies, not military installations." Sektar's blood chilled. The hegemony wasn't interested in conquest, they targeted populations directly. "Intercept those vessels, protect the colonies." But the Vraxian fleet discovered something that would haunt military strategists. Hegemony ships fought like living ideas, adapting and evolving with each exchange. Within hours, 3 worlds went silent. Reconnaissance revealed something challenging invasion concepts entirely. The colonies remained intact. Cities stood, people lived, but they had changed. "Report," Sektar ordered reluctantly. "Colonists are still themselves, sir, but also more, connected to each other and hegemony vessels. They claim happiness, fulfillment. They say they're freed from loneliness and uncertainty. Militarily, all defensive systems dismantled. They say they're unnecessary. But sir, industrial capacity increased 300% in 6 hours. They're building unrecognizable things." Across the galaxy, similar reports flooded in. The hegemony wasn't conquering, they were transforming. Transformed populations seemed genuinely grateful. Then emergency communication reached all commanders. The humans agreed to help. They're sending a representative to War Council immediately. For the first time since crisis began, Admiral Sektar felt hope. Humans had finally seen reason. He had no idea how wrong he was. The Emergency War Council convened aboard Unity's Dawn, a massive station representing the galaxy's combined military might. Representatives from 24 species gathered, faces grim with determination. Ambassador Zethkar stood before the assembly, serpentine form coiled with aggression. 17 worlds have fallen in a week. Our weapons prove ineffective against their bioships. Transformed populations won't fight back, added General Gorvak. They claim happiness with their new existence. It's like fighting an enemy that turns our people into willing collaborators. Where is the human representative? Rumbled High Counselor Drakthul. I'm here. A small, unassuming woman in civilian clothes walked toward the command table. No weapons, no uniform, utterly out of place among the military might. Dr. Sarah Chen, Terran Diplomatic Corps, she said calmly. A diplomat? Zethkar's voice dripped contempt. We need weapons, not words. You need understanding, Chen replied, activating a datapad. Holographic displays filled the chamber with detailed hegemony analysis. You're fighting the wrong war, she said simply. Angry voices erupted until Drakthul demanded silence. Explain. You treat this as territorial conflict between sovereign powers, but the hegemony isn't conquering, they're saving you. From their perspective, individual consciousness is a disease causing suffering and inefficiency. They genuinely believe they're offering a cure. Chen manipulated displays showing brain scans from transformed populations. Look at these readings. Dramatically reduced stress, increased dopamine, enhanced cooperation. They have evidence supporting their beliefs. You're saying they're actually improving people? Ambassador Lyrian asked, distressed. They believe they are, with evidence to support it. That makes them dangerous, and why military force alone will never stop them. Zethkar slammed his fist down. Then what do you propose? Surrender? Chen smiled warmly, yet terrifyingly. No. We show them something they've never encountered, a species that chose cooperation over conquest without losing individuality. She displayed hidden refugee colonies throughout human space. 50 years building alternatives to warrior cultures. 40 million refugees from across the galaxy, people who chose peace over war, cooperation over conquest. We're offering the hegemony voluntary unity without absorption, Chen explained, proving their fundamental assumption about consciousness is wrong. And if they refuse? Zethkar demanded. Chen's smile grew colder. Then we'll show them why humans don't go to war. I don't understand. You will. But first, I need something against every instinct your species possess. What? Trust us completely. Surrender your fleets to human command. Unprecedented silence fell. You ask sovereignty from a species that never fought war? Drakthul asked. No, Chen replied. From a species that never needed to fight war. There's a difference. What difference? You fight wars because you have to. We don't fight wars because we never lose. 3 weeks after the War Council, the hegemony's advanced fleet encountered something unprecedented in their centuries of expansion, a human diplomatic vessel requesting parley. Aboard the bioship Synthesis, the collective consciousness that commanded the hegemony's forces experienced something approaching curiosity. The humans were an anomaly, a species that had achieved interstellar travel without the usual pattern of conquest and expansion. Their request for dialogue was interesting. Bring their representative aboard, the consciousness decided, speaking through the bioship's organic communication system. The human shuttle Olive Branch docked with the massive bioship, and a single figure emerged, Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading expert in xenopsychology and consciousness studies. She walked calmly through the organic corridors of the ship, seemingly unbothered by the pulsing walls and the subtle whispers of the collective mind surrounding her. She was brought to the ship's central chamber, a vast space where the boundaries between technology and biology had been completely erased. The walls themselves were conscious, covered in neural networks that formed constantly shifting patterns of thought and memory. "Welcome, human," the ship spoke, its voice emerging from every surface simultaneously. "You are far from your home territories. Why do you seek us out?" "Because I have a gift for you," Dr. Vasquez replied, pulling out a small crystalline device. "The gift of understanding. We understand all that we need to understand. Individual consciousness creates suffering. Unity creates peace. We offer transcendence. You offer assimilation," Vasquez corrected gently. "But what if I told you there was another way, a way to achieve unity without sacrificing individuality?" The ship's consciousness paused, processing the statement. "Impossible. We have analyzed thousands of species across the galaxy. Individual consciousness always leads to conflict, competition, and suffering. Only through unity can true peace be achieved. May I show you something?" Without waiting for permission, Vasquez activated the crystalline device. Suddenly, the chamber filled with holographic displays showing the hidden human colonies scattered across the galaxy. "These are our sanctuary worlds," she explained, 40 million beings from across the galaxy, representing hundreds of species, living together in harmony while maintaining their individual consciousness and cultural identities. The collective mind studied the displays intently. How? Through a concept you may not have encountered before: voluntary cooperation. These beings chose to work together not because they were forced to, but because they discovered that diversity of thought actually enhances problem-solving and creativity. "Show us." The holographic displays shifted, showing detailed examples of interspecies cooperation. Vraxian engineers working with ethereal artists to create new forms of architecture. Brutek's strength combined with Corthani precision to develop unprecedented manufacturing techniques. Each species contributed their unique capabilities while maintaining their distinct identities. "This is unusual," the ship admitted, "but these are refugees, outcasts from their own societies. They represent the failures of their species, not their strengths." "Do they?" Vasquez asked. "Or do they represent the next stage of evolution, the stage your species never achieved? Explain." "Your species learned to eliminate suffering by eliminating individuality. But you also eliminated growth, change, and true creativity. These colonies prove that consciousness can evolve beyond competition without sacrificing what makes each being unique." The ship's consciousness was silent for long moments, processing this information. "Even if your assertion is correct, it changes nothing. The galaxy is at war. Military force determines survival, not philosophical ideals." "Is it?" Vasquez smiled. "Tell me, how many of your ships have been destroyed in this conflict?" "None. Our bioships are adaptive and self-repairing. No weapon the galaxy possesses can permanently damage us." "And how many enemy ships have you destroyed?" "Also none. We do not destroy, we transform. We turn their weapons against themselves, their ships into extensions of our consciousness." "Exactly. So tell me, who's winning this war?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. The hegemony had been expanding for weeks, transforming world after world, turning entire fleets to their cause. By any conventional measure, they were winning decisively. "We are," the ship replied. "Are you? Then why are you still fighting?" Because some populations continue to resist transformation." "Which populations?" The ship's consciousness paused, suddenly realizing the trap. The populations under human protection." "Exactly. Your bioships can transform any willing consciousness, but you can't force transformation on beings who truly understand the alternative. And the more worlds you save, the more beings flee to human sanctuary. You're not conquering the galaxy, you're fragmenting it." The chamber fell silent as the full implications sank in. The hegemony's expansion was creating exactly the kind of diversity and individual choice they sought to eliminate. "What do you propose?" the ship asked finally. A demonstration. Allow me to bring a delegation from our sanctuary worlds to meet with your collective consciousness. Let them show you what voluntary unity actually looks like. And if this demonstration fails to convince us, Vasquez's expression grew serious. Then you'll discover why humans don't go to war. Is that a threat? No, she replied. It's a promise. The meeting point was a neutral station in empty void, a facility resembling a vast garden suspended in space, with biodomes and habitats visible through transparent walls. The hegemony arrived first, synthesis docking with organic interface ports. The collective consciousness manifested as a shimmering humanoid figure of living light and neural energy. The human delegation arrived in modest transports carrying sanctuary world representatives. These weren't expected outcasts. These were beings who had chosen cooperation over conquest, growth over stagnation, diversity over uniformity. Dr. Vasquez led them into the central chamber, a vast space accommodating multiple atmospheric and gravitational requirements simultaneously. Multiple environmental zones seamlessly integrated where dozens of species could interact comfortably. "Welcome," Vasquez said. "Today, we attempt something unprecedented, true dialogue between individual and collective consciousness." The hegemony's form shifted, light patterns flowing. "We are skeptical. Individual consciousness is chaotic, inefficient, conflict-prone. This gathering will likely devolve into typical multi-species disputes." "Let's test that," replied Cathal, a former Vraxian commander who had fled to Sanctuary after refusing genocidal orders. "You know me," Cathal continued. "You've absorbed my colleagues' memories. You know I was trained to see other species as enemies. But here, I learned differently." He gestured to Gorthon, a Brutex female beside him. "In the old paradigm, our species were hereditary enemies. We fought 3 wars over millennia." "And now?" the hegemony asked. "She's my research partner. We're developing terraforming techniques combining Vraxian biotechnology with Brutex engineering. Our projects restored 17 dead worlds." "Show us." What followed defied galactic history. Representatives from dozens of species collaborated, solving complex problems real-time. They disagreed frequently, passionately, but disagreements led to stronger solutions, not conflict. Corthani mathematicians worked with ethereal philosophers on quantum consciousness equations. Human botanists collaborated with Zalari biochemists developing food synthesis. Former enemies worked side by side, individual strengths complementing rather than competing. "This is fascinating," the hegemony admitted. "But these are exceptional individuals." "Are they?" asked Dr. Chen, observing quietly. "What do you see?" "Cooperation despite differences, unity without uniformity, individual consciousness enhancing collective goals." "How many participate?" 2,000 from 47 species. "How many live in sanctuary worlds?" 40 million. Realization struck like physical impact. This isn't exceptional. This is normal for you. This happens when consciousness gets room to grow instead of elimination, Chen explained. Individual minds don't inevitably create conflict, only when trapped in systems rewarding competition over cooperation. "But the galaxy still wars," the hegemony protested. "Does it?" Chen displayed current conflict data. "Where are heaviest casualties?" War zones highlighted clearly, intense fighting where traditional powers stopped hegemony expansion through military force. But near sanctuary worlds, conflict was noticeably less intense. "Your expansion slowed in these regions," Chen noted. "Why?" "Because populations are less receptive to transformation. They have alternatives to warfare and absorption." "Exactly. Sanctuary worlds prove consciousness can evolve beyond the binary choice between individual suffering and collective absorption." "What do you want?" "Choice. Stop forcing transformation. Offer what you believe is better and let them decide." "And if they choose individual consciousness?" "Then they choose. The goal isn't eliminating either option, it's ensuring genuinely free choice." The hegemony's form began shifting, complex light configurations swirling. This is radical. Our existence assumes individual consciousness inevitably causes suffering. Maybe test that assumption, Cathal suggested. Everything depends on this, the hegemony replied. If we're wrong, our civilization is fundamentally flawed. And if you're right, Chen added, free choice vindicates your position. You can only lose if you're afraid to let beings choose. The challenge hung in air. For the first time, the hegemony faced their own choice: continue forced expansion or trust the very free will they sought to eliminate. We will consider your proposal. No, Chen replied firmly. You'll decide, right here, now. The galaxy watches, and they deserve to know whether this war continues or ends today. The decision chamber aboard Synthesis pulsed with nervous energy as representatives from every major species witnessed the most important moment in galactic history. The hegemony's collective consciousness towered as living light, form constantly shifting as millions of absorbed minds debated. Dr. Sarah Chen stood opposite, small and human, utterly unintimidated by cosmic forces around her. You ask us to abandon our fundamental purpose, the hegemony said, voice carrying thousand-species harmonics. For eons, we've sought to end suffering by ending individual consciousness isolation. Now you suggest trusting the very thing we believe causes conflict. I'm not asking you to abandon your purpose, Chen replied. I'm asking you to perfect it. True unity can't be forced, it must be chosen. Otherwise, it's just conquest. Enough philosophy, Ambassador Zethkar shifted restlessly. Will you cease expansion or not? The expansion will continue, the hegemony declared. Angry voices erupted, but Chen raised her hand for silence. Let them finish, she said knowingly. The expansion continues, but its nature changes. We will no longer force transformation. Instead, we'll offer unity's gift to those genuinely seeking it. We'll establish contact points where beings can experience collective consciousness voluntarily, choosing whether to join permanently. And those who refuse, demanded General Gorvok, will be free to refuse. We'll defend them from those forcing individual suffering, hoping they'll defend us from those forcing individual isolation. The implications rippled through the chamber. The hegemony wasn't just ending forced expansion, they were offering to become protectors of choice itself. There's one more thing, Chen added. The hegemony will establish contact points exclusively in human sanctuary systems. What? Zethkar coiled with outrage. Why should humans control hegemony access? Because we're the only species that won't weaponize the relationship. Every other power would either use the hegemony against enemies or exploit collective consciousness for military advantage. Preposterous, Gorvok snarled. The Brutex Legion would never. Filed a classified request 3 days ago studying bioship technology for enhanced warrior effectiveness, Chen interrupted gently. Want me to read your own documents? Gorvok went still. Other representatives suddenly studied the floor. Humans are correct, the hegemony admitted. Every major power would exploit our technology for conquest. Only humans consistently demonstrate possessing power without using it for domination. That's not power, Zethkar protested. That's weakness. Is it? Chen asked. Tell me, how many wars has your empire won this century? 17 major campaigns, dozens of conflicts. How many brought lasting peace? Silence. The Vraxian Empire has warred for 2,000 years, Chen continued. Your civilization is built on conquest. You've won countless battles, but never the war, because there's always another war. She gestured to displays showing human space. Humans have been spacefaring 2 centuries. We fought exactly 0 wars. Not from weakness, but because we solved the problem making war necessary. What problem? Asked ancient Drakthul.
The scarcity mindset. Every galactic species believes resources, territory, security are finite, that survival requires taking from others. But that's only true if you can't imagine alternatives. New displays showed human civilization structures. We don't fight wars because we don't need to. We create abundance instead of competing for scarcity. We build cooperation instead of demanding submission. We solve problems instead of conquering them. But surely you have enemies? Ambassador Lyrian asked. Threats requiring military response? Of course. Pirates, rogue AI, cosmic hazards, species refusing coexistence. But we don't go to war against them. Then what do you do? Chen smiled, something almost predatory in her expression. We remove the problem, completely, permanently, without declaring war, without campaigns, without giving enemies the dignity of being considered worthy opponents. Silence fell as implications sank in. War happens when two sides are roughly equal with conflicting objectives. But when one side is so overwhelmingly superior that resistance is meaningless, and so creative that they can solve any problem without violence, that's not war. That's pest control. The chamber remained frozen. The galaxy will learn, eventually, Chen continued softly. You can choose cooperation with humanity, or you can choose to become a problem that needs solving. But you cannot choose war with us. She looked around the chamber one final time. Because we don't go to war. We simply win.